We have a crisis in the world, tremendous crisis, and also crisis in our consciousness, in us. I see the urgency of change, radical revolution, mutation in the mind. I see it. It is necessary. There is complete quietness of the mind, and that which is silent has vast space. Only then that which is nameless comes into being.
This is Urgency of Change, the Krishnamurti podcast. What does it all mean, the existence that we lead? What is the meaning of all the work, misery, confusion, and this sense of meaningless existence? Hello and welcome to episode 266 of Urgency of Change. Each episode of the Krishnamurti podcast is based on a significant theme of his talks. Extracts have been carefully selected to represent Krishnamurti's different approaches to these universal and timeless topics. This week's theme is existence. Upcoming themes are You Are the World, Movement, and Respectability. This is a podcast from Krishnamurti Foundation Trust, based at Brockwood Park in Hampshire, UK. Brockwood is also home to Brockwood Park School, a unique international boarding school offering a personalised holistic education. It is deeply inspired by Krishnamurti's teaching, which encourages academic excellence, self-understanding, creativity and integrity. Please visit brockwood.org.uk for more information. You can also find our regular Krishnamurti quotes and videos on Instagram, TikTok and Facebook at Krishnamurti Foundation Trust. If you enjoy the podcast, please leave a review or rating on your podcast app. This episode on existence has 4 sections. This first extract is from Krishnamurti's 5th talk in Bombay 1981 and is titled, What is the most important thing in our existence?
I think we ought to consider what is the most important thing in life. Most of us generally accept things as they are, or revolt against them and join some institution, some organization, follow somebody. The more amusing, entertaining, the more promising, we accept very easily, thinking that we are going to arrive or get or achieve some kind of ultimate pleasure. And we never consider what is most important in our existence. Our existence is so full of labor, travail, anxiety, every form of problems, both mechanical and psychological. And if we are at all serious, not joining any particular group or organization or led by some guru who are really not serious at all, we should ask, what does it all mean? The existence that we lead. What is the meaning of all this work, misery, confusion, a sense of meaningless existence? You may go to the office every day for the rest of your life, from 9 to whatever it is, and labor there, or practice some kind of meditation day after day, following a certain system, or get lost in the mediocrity of this world. But when we ask ourselves, what is the most important thing in our existence? Actually, not theoretically, not an abstraction, but in our daily existence. What is the most essential thing? Is it seeking some kind of comfort, physical or psychological? Is it something to escape from our constant urge, with all its pain, to fulfill, to become? Is it that we want somebody to guide us? Because we are so confused, so uncertain. We want somebody to lead us, tell us what to do. So, when should I think, ask, what is the most fundamental question in our life, which, in the understanding of it, will reveal the whole psychological structure with its inhibitions, with its restraints, with its traditional discipline, or revolt from that discipline. So we should demand of ourselves, what is the essential movement which, if one can understand it fully, will go very far. As we said the other day, and at every talk we have repeated, we are together investigating. Together we are exploring into this question. Together. Please, let's clearly understand that. Most of us are accustomed to be talked at or listen to some kind of theoretical or satisfying issue, or translate what you hear to your own particular narrow groove or one is serious enough to demand of oneself this question. So please, if one may point out again, we are together walking on the same road, the same path, together examining this question. Is it not the most important thing is to know yourself? Whatever you are. Because that is the source from which all our action, our ideas, our thoughts, our theories, our longings are based. To know oneself, that is, to have knowledge about oneself. Not who am I, but rather what is the whole structure which makes up the idea of me. Me, my ego, my demands, my pleasures, all that. Self-knowledge has been, from the ancient of days, have been asserted. People have said, know yourself first. And apparently, it's one of the most difficult things to know oneself. And we join groups and through various forms of dialogues, experiences, hope to reveal ourselves. There are those psychological philosophers who say man cannot be changed. He is conditioned and improve that conditioning. And I think we should, this evening, if you will follow this question and inquire, look into ourselves. The speaker can only act as a mirror. The words that he uses are an indication. The words themselves are not the actual reality. They are a means of communication with each other. So, together, let's inquire into this whole question of knowing oneself. First of all, in that inquiry, one must ask, what is knowledge? Knowledge, obviously, is the accumulation of experiences. Accumulation of million years of man's existence. We're not only talking about the technological knowledge, which is so rapidly advancing, but also the psychological knowledge. One has read various volumes about oneself, what you are, or what you should be. Various theories have been propagated. But if we could put aside what others have said, however professional, however ancient, whatever the tradition may be, if we could put all that aside, that is, the authority of tradition, the authority of your gurus, the authority of the psychologists, the psychoanalysts, and so on, so that your mind is free to observe for yourself, not according to somebody else. Can we do that? Or is one of the most difficult things to put aside? Please inquire into yourself whether it's possible for you to set aside every form of psychological authority and inquire for yourself. If you don't, you may remain a second-hand human being. This is not an insult. You're merely repeating what others have said of what you are, in what manner, or assert various forms of your psychological existence. If we could put aside all that and come to it afresh.
The second extract is from the 6th talk in Saanen 1972 and is titled, "The Mind Finds Its Existence in Its Contents."
Mind needs to be occupied. Mind is never in a state of not being occupied. Please watch all this in yourselves. And occupation becomes extraordinarily important. The man who goes to an office for 40, 50, 60 years, when that occupation comes to an end, he also comes to an end. So occupation becomes extraordinarily important. And the mind can be occupied with property. Looking after it, all the business of owning something. Now, if one has an insight into this, that the mind needs to be occupied, it demands occupation, whether it's occupied with furniture, with social work, with a book, or with an idea of God, it's exactly the same. because it demands occupation. And is it because also the mind in itself seems to have no existence apart from the thing to which it is attached? All right? What is the content of my mind, of my consciousness, or your consciousness? The content. The property, the idea, the images that I have built about another or about myself. So the mind in itself has no existence apart from its content. And one of the contents is the furniture. You're following? And so it is not a question of being attached. Furniture is the mind. And when the mind has no quality of itself, then attachment becomes extraordinarily important. Please observe this in yourself. So, the material existence of property and being occupied with that property, the mind, being lonely, must have occupation. And so property takes a great deal of time with which one can be occupied. And the loneliness and so on. And the mind having no existence of its own finds existence in the content, in the attachment, in the idea. Right? And why are we attached so much to people? This is much more interesting. Why are you attached to a person? Are you really attached to the person or to the idea, to the image of that person? I am attached to you. For the various reasons, which is my attachment to you gives a quality, an existence to the mind. And my attachment to you is its existence. Now, I'm attached to you because I love you. You give me pleasure, sexual or otherwise. You give me something to which I can cling to, a companionship, an existence with you gives more certainty to the mind. You following all this? And without you, I'm lost. And being lost, I have to find another companion, another attachment. Or if there is trouble between you and me, which is between the image I have of you and the image you have of me, which is called relationship, if there is in that relationship conflict, I try to break it up and establish another form of relationship, which is another image. I do not know if you're following all this. So, again I see the mind having no quality, vitality, existence, energy of its own. It tries to find in relationship all that. Please watch this in yourself, not what the speaker is saying, but actually what is going on in your mind when you are attached to a person, as obviously you must be attached, which you call love, with all its responsibility, with all its neurotic behavior, and so on, so on, so on. Then there is this whole gamut of ideation, mentation. That is, the images that thought has created and put together as an idea. An idea is the reasoned out verbal assertion of a thought. Right? It's all right, can I go on? You're following all this? And we live on a formula, on conclusions, which are put together by thought. Thought being memory and the past. So we are living in the past, which may be projected into the future, but it has its roots in the past. So our attachment is to the past. Now, why does the mind live, act, behave upon a series of conclusions which thought has come to? Why? I don't know if you have not noticed this thing in yourself. You have an experience, doesn't matter what it is, however trivial, however great, you have an experience, and that experience becomes the memory, and that memory, with its knowledge, is the process of thought, which comes to a conclusion. And according to that conclusion, you live. The conclusion is non-physical, non-existent, as the furniture. It is still an idea. And the mind, having no vitality of its own, has to depend on ideas, formulas, beliefs, doctrines, and all the rest of it. And therefore, there is constant division between the conclusion and the act. Are we all asleep? I want to be quite sure. So I see the mind is its content. The mind is not without its content. And it is afraid to let go its content. Otherwise there's no existence. And so it's got to occupy itself with its content. Furniture, the people, the person, or the idea. Idea being God, all the rest of it. See how extraordinarily interesting it is, because meditation what they call meditation is the cultivation of an occupation with an idea. And the practicing of that idea, which is not at all meditation. When we'll discuss it when perhaps left on Sunday. But see how the whole thing hangs together like a marvelous structure. Now, one has explained all this. The attachment to property, attachment to people, to conclusions, which are images, symbols, ideas. To have an insight into that, into the whole of it, is the liberation from attachment. Not at some future date, instantly. This is really important to understand. When you listen to this, do you say, I will think about this little later. When I go out of this tent, I will go into this much more. Because here, there are too many ideas, too many being poured out. I must take it up and think about it later. Which prevents you from having an insight now. Sir, just a minute, sir. You ask me a little later. We're going to have questions. Ask me questions after I've finished talking. If you can remember what you want to ask me. And if you are sharing this thing together, there is no time for you to think about it later. We are sharing the food together because you are hungry and the speaker is also hungry. We are sharing the food together, eating together. You don't say when you are eating together or when you are hungry, I will eat later. You are sharing it, actively eating. And if you have no insight into what has been said, why? Are you frightened of not being attached? not being occupied, not finding out what happens to a mind that has no attachment. Therefore, fear. Because the mind is incessantly occupied. Whether with the house, with sex, with God, with drink, or with your politics, with your guru, what the guru, occupied. And that gives it a vitality, a certain quality of energy. And one is afraid if there is no occupation at all, what's going to take place? Therefore, when there is that fear, you will not share. That fear will prevent you. Therefore, you have to have an insight into that fear, which is far more important to have an insight into attachment. So there is constant insight. And when you have such an insight, attachment altogether is gone and a different quality comes into being. The quality which the mind itself has, if it has understood, has aware, as an insight into the whole process of attachment. That is love. You understand? How can I love you or you love me if I am attached to you? My attachment is based on my pursuit of pleasure, which you give me, your images and so on. I am attached to that image of you, and you are attached to the image of me. And the image is the past, is the response of experience, knowledge. So, is love the past? Is love experience? Is love memory? Is love the reaction to that memory as pleasure? Follow all this. So, one discovers, or one comes upon, the mind comes upon, that where there is attachment of any kind, there is no love. It is not a statement, an idea, but an actual fact, which the mind has discovered, which the mind, having an insight into attachment, sees the truth of it. And seeing the truth of it is not occupied with the person, or with the furniture, or with the idea, and therefore it has its own energy. I wonder if you're meeting all this. It is that quality of energy which is love. Right? And therefore, love can never be hurt. Oh, you don't see all this, do you? Can never be jealous, never lonely, never asked to be loved. What a horror that is. And one observes what one's life is. What is our life? What is our existence? Look at it, please. Your existence, not mine. Which is, what is the existence of the me in the field of knowledge? What is my living in the field of experience? What is my actual activity with the whole structure of memory, which is the past? Is my life based on the past? Past being yesterday or 10,000 yesterdays. Please look at it. I want to learn about myself. And I have learned happily what my attachments do to the mind. And I want to find out also what my actual life is. Not the imagined life, not the life I would like to have, not the life that depends on environment, on stimuli, but actually what is my daily existence based on. You're following all the... Am I living in the past? Is my life the past? Operating, reacting to the present, based upon the past, and therefore projecting that to the future. You following? I want to find out. Please listen to this carefully. I want to find out. I want to find out whether the temperament and the idiosyncrasy of my life, or is my life my conditioned state, or the temperament, idiosyncrasy, and the conditioning is my whole life.
The third extract is from Krishnamurti's sixth talk in New York, 1966, and is titled The Absurd Triviality of Our Existence.
Most of us do see the utter futility, the meaningless existence that one leads. The intellectuals throughout the world invent a philosophy. How to live, what to think, what kind of world it should be. and so on. That's their amusement. And so do the theologians. And of course, inevitably, the priests. But our life, our daily existence is monotonous, utterly meaningless. The actual fact, not you don't have memories, pleasures, and amusements. That's a very small part of our existence. But deep down, if you can strip off that particular layer, there is this enormous discontent with our lives, with our shoddy little existences. And it breeds despair. And being in despair, we seek. We say there must be something. We want some hope, something by which we can live. So we give intellectually or emotionally a significance to life, to our life, which prevents us from actually looking, observing, listening to the whole content of our entity. And being discontented, in despair, we turn to various philosophies, various methods of meditation. All that we do, one hasn't got to go into all the details of it. So one begins to seek. You try this, you try that, you take this special drug, the LSD or another drug, and keep experimenting, hoping someday you will discover the key to all this. That's what we are all doing. We want truly religious experience, something supernatural, something mysterious. Because our own life is so empty, so dull, so meaningless, so utterly petty. And we seek because we are discontented and we don't know where to look. Because nobody believes in any of the things that anybody says anymore. The religions, all that's gone up in smoke. It is not worth even discussing. So, being discontented, eaten up with this absurd triviality of existence which has no meaning whatsoever, except technologically one must earn a livelihood and have some money and all the rest of it. But beyond that, it has no meaning. So there is discontent, a desperate loneliness. And we seek. Now, there is this emptiness, this loneliness, this despair, and to fill that we are seeking. Probably you are listening this evening, seeking something to fill that void of nothingness. And this search is a terrible thing because it will lead nowhere. One has knocked at the many doors in our despair, loneliness and misery. Eastern philosophy, Zen, this new person who is sitting and listening, talking. You listen to all of them. And you knock at the very door. And actually what takes place is, when you are seeking, you find what you want. So the first thing, it seems to me, is to realize that there must be no seeking at all. That's a hard pill to swallow. Because most of us have been so accustomed, so conditioned to seek psychologically, inwardly. And if we say, if I can't seek, if I see there is no meaning in seeking, then what am I to do? I'm lost. So, seeking becomes another escape from actual fact of what one is. Please, this is rather crucial that one should understand this. Because any movement of seeking gives the idea that you're actually moving, active. But actually what takes place, you are not moving at all. What is taking place when you're seeking is a mental process. Which one hopes will satisfy. And so, seeking is a static state. It's not an active state. What the actual state is this terrible loneliness, emptiness. This incessant demand to be happy, to find a permanent reality and so on, so on. Seeking by a mind that is frightened of itself what it is. A man who is alive in the deep sense of that word, completely fearless, alike to himself, he has no need to seek. So, can this loneliness, this sense of utter meaningless existence, can one find out, not through books, not through philosophies, not through psychoanalysis, or through any religion, organized religion, actually find out for oneself without any shadow of doubt? If life has a significance at all, And what is that significance? If there is one. Man, historically, has been seeking this thing called God. And it's not the fashion nowadays to talk about that entity. It's not worth talking about him. Because nobody's interested. It has been the monopoly of the organized religions, and organized religions have gone up in smoke or in incense. And it has no meaning at all anymore. But yet man is seeking, wanting to find out. And without finding that out, life has no significance. Do what you will. You can invent every kind of philosophy or the very, very latest drug to give you a certain stimulation which will have a certain experience because you have become slightly in another corner of the field, extraordinarily sensitive. And if one relies on stimulation of every kind, including the speaker here, then stimulation inevitably leads to dull mind. So, one has to find out. One has to examine, and through that very examination, discover. Not project from your conditioning or from your fear, from your hope, a certain reality which hope exists. Then you are back again to the old circle. So, first, one must realize the utter shallowness of our life. Not because somebody tells you, but the actual fact of what it is. The meaninglessness of going to the office for the next 40 years, or you have been already 40 years, struggling, and at the end die. Or filling that moments of when you are not occupied with earning money, fill those odd moments with some philosophy, with some idea, because or this, or you have money, you can go back, go to certain places and learn meditation to be aware and all the rest of it. It all becomes so utterly meaningless and childish. But one has to find out. One has to discover if there is a real significance, not invented by the mind. That's very easy. So to find that out, if there is a significance, there must be an end to seeking. And therefore, one faces what actually is within oneself. You see, because of our despair and anguish and all the rest of it, we have invented a network of escapes, beliefs, dogmas. Or you just live for the time being and die, rationalizing your whole existence, saying all the things that one says. And so the mind must be free of belief to examine. So, to examine, there must be freedom. Obviously, otherwise you can't examine. To look, to listen, there must be extraordinary freedom from all one's conditioning, all one's demands. So that you can look at your own conditioning, at your own demands, at one's own fears. Then, when there is no movement of seeking or achievement, which is extraordinarily arduous, because we want to succeed. We want a quick answer to everything. You take a drug and you think you have answered the whole of existence because you have had certain experience. And that experience seems to have the shadow, is the shadow of the real. And we play along those lines. Now if one can see all this structure, then not escape, either through a conclusion or through a word, or through the movement of seeking an answer. This demands astonishing attention. And this attention is not to be gained by practicing attention. God, that becomes mechanical. But when one realizes for oneself the utter futility of all what we are doing, which must be done at a certain level, but that's not the whole substance of life. The concerts, the paintings, the marvelous escapes that man has invented to run away from himself and so prevent himself from looking at himself.
The final extract in this episode is from the fourth talk in New York 1972 and is titled, Why Do I Exist?
The questioner asks, why do I exist? That's right? Yes, why does life exist? Or why do I exist? Right? I don't know. Please don't. Why do I exist? That question has been asked. Why do I exist? I know, as I exist now, life has no meaning. As I exist now, life is a torture. As I exist now, there are occasional joys and great deal of pain, sorrow, uncertainty, tears. And being a human, we say we must change all this. I don't want to live like this. That's the only right question. Not why life exists, why I exist. I exist, and I know that I suffer. I know there is misery. I know there is hatred, hurts, war, butchery. And my intelligence says change, live differently, totally differently. And then life has an extraordinary meaning. Life then becomes a thing of great beauty.